Hi, Svitlana.
Hello, Arne.
Happy to see you. Let us dive right into the chess works. What are we going to talk about today?
Today, I thought we would look at some current games from the tournament that just finished, or that has been going on in your country, in Düsseldorf. Have you heard about it?
I've heard about it. Yes, I've been following it too, and it was quite interesting, but I had no chance to look at the game, so I'm very happy we can catch up with it right away. Yes, Düsseldorf. You have a little bit of a correlation to Düsseldorf. You have been there once, right? Or close
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
my mom's best friend lives there.
Hmm.
So I did visit it last time during my visit to Germany for ChessBase.
Nice. Yeah, excellent. And now there exactly where you leave your marks, chess is not far away. So it's always like catches up with us. So okay, what games are we looking at?
The first one I wanted to look at was between Abdusattorov and Esipenko.
Hmm.
So it has to be a good one when there's such young players who are on the rise and always play very fun chess. So um, it started with the Nimzo Indian defense,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of lines for both sides on how to proceed, and it's a matter of taste and a matter of choice. And Noderbek chose to play with this bishop d2. So this approach has been popular for some time at these high levels. It slows down the kingside development, but it saves white from having the doubled c-pawns, which is a common feature of the Nimzo Indian.
Hmm.
So now if black were to take, we would maybe take back with the bishop and not really have these doubled pawns.
Okay.
So it went on with simple development. White captured on d5, also another common move in these positions. So this changes the pawn structure for the rest of the game. Black took back with the pawn, which might seem a bit strange after they've wanted to put their bishop there, but that's the most common approach. And if you take with the knight, then you kind of give up the center and you will allow to play e4 at some point, which there's advantages and disadvantages to both of them.
Hmm.
So that's how it started. Black took back with the e pawn. All of the moves are just development so far.
Sure. Yeah, nothing too fancy showing up. I mean, if I don't play those systems, neither of them I've seen similar games like this often enough, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all very logical and common moves, and that's in the Nimzo Indian, it's never something tactical and huge right from the start. It
Hmm.
usually comes later. Now bishop went to f8.
Hmm.
Another common maneuver, just to play c5 later on and not have that bishop stuck on that side of the board.
Yeah, this is one of those moves which a couple of 100 years ago, it's like very, very difficult to play, I guess, because or even for beginners, like just like if you made a move in this direction, don't pull it back again. And yeah, and there it
Right.
happens, and it
Yeah.
completely makes sense, of course.
Yeah, these players already know that
Yeah,
it's theory and that it's a theoretical moves. But yeah, it might seem strange at first, but it's totally logical once you follow the big plan of this opening. They
sure.
want to play c5, and then this bishop maybe would feel uncomfortable after a3.
Hmm.
Um, so this bishop developed to b7. Once again, I would say that it's not like a great piece on b7, but if you compare it with maybe this bishop, then they are approximately equivalent. Nothing yet, but just there for the future. Knight e5.
Yeah,
So
this
yeah,
black
go
squared bishop looks a bit squished for now.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
now.
but that's why these positions are approximately
Yeah.
equal, because the weaknesses they balance each other
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
Although I like these positions for white, black always has counterplay. It's always approximately equal, and white has play of their own, black has play of their own.
Sure.
I even played a very similar game to this, but it wasn't. I played a similar game this summer, where it was very similar, and the rook was there instead, and this bishop was here. So it wasn't quite the same, but these positions arise very, very often. So here there's a lot of ideas worth exploring. In the game, Esipenko played knight to e4, which we will look at right after. But I wanted to show one interesting line that starts with rook c8, which is another really common move, if not more common.
Yeah.
And the ideas here are really interesting. I want to show you a cool tactic that arises here. So bishop e1, just to take that bishop away from the knight's attack. Knight e4, and try to find an interesting tactic here as white.
Whoopsie daisy. All right, so let's take a look. Looks to me as if the pawn on f7 is a bit shaky.
Very
How
true.
to exploit that best? So taking with the knight would be immediately taken back with the king. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, I get somewhere. So taking with the knight on f7, the king has to take, well, it doesn't have to take back. The queen could move too.
No, it's sure to take back, but just before we get there, I'll get you there one move ahead. So first we will take.
Okay.
And then we will take on f7. So you were on the right track.
Yes.
Knight f7 is the tactic that I wanted to show. But what happens after that capture? What was your idea?
So the idea was queen to b3 check, and I'm not sure how to continue yet, but it looks as if the king is in a pretty bad situation. I mean, the rook cannot move in between because the pawn would go to f5. The queen can, of course, not move in. Nothing can move in between. So the king only has a couple of squares left, and that also doesn't look very promising. So
yeah, this is the position. It's very interesting to see this arise from just a few moves ago when the king was completely safe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy because at first you would never even think about it, but of course the bishop to h4 is the biggest of all threats if the king moves to e7 or f6. Huh.
Yeah, that's true.
Evil.
So this all turns out to be like black does have a defense. So this is a theoretical line, and I'm pretty sure that somewhere Nodirbek said that he expected this. So I think this is one of the computer lines that you kind of look at and you think is really cool. So the defense for black is c4.
My goodness.
To open up the rook, the queen will take, king g6, and the thing is, the attack looks good, but so far there's not enough pieces to really get it to the checkmate.
Wow.
So f5. Once again, all of these are only moves. The king goes here. Bishop to g3 to threaten checkmate here. And now black has an amazing defense with knight to e5. So this is the whole point of the previous c4 move. This is why I wouldn't make you guess it. I see your face.
What
and it's
is happening? I cannot believe it.
This is a computer line, of course, but I'm sure games have been like this before. And once all of these moves are forcing, so they do make sense at the end. So this was the point of c4, so that now we get to activate the knight. And next move even better, queen g8.
Yeah, that's actually what I really saw right now. Come on, this is insane.
Yeah. And the game goes on, and it's equal, believe it or not. It's just equal, and there's something like bishop e7 after that. So it's way too complex, but it's a fun line.
Wow. So for you at home, of course, if you don't know it already, underneath the YouTube video is the link for exactly this game. So check it out on your own. Look at this variation because that's wild. If you are a Nimzo player or like the Queen's Gambit, and this is something which has occurred to you already, and you didn't know about it yet. Now you know, and that this equal is actually blowing my mind. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. Thanks. It's a nice catch here.
Yeah. So knight to e4 was what actually happened in the game, and now this same line doesn't quite work because black doesn't capture and just plays queen d5 instead.
And
So
the
it doesn't
knight
work.
is gone. Okay. Oh my. No, it's
No,
not
the
gone.
point. No, it's not gone. It's gonna return, and then after you capture here, there is d takes c3,
Oh,
and once again it's equal. Huge surprise, but it's very, very complex.
So
But this is.
if you do not know about this,
Is it possible to find it? Maybe you can look into it because
yeah.
there's only a couple of moves you can make. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be possible, but of course, once you know it with the computer, it's so much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
So instead, white played knight to g3, and what do you think black should do? Capture the bishop, capture the knight, or don't capture anything? There's a lot of captures to consider here, and I want to see if you would make the same mistake as the game. Right?
Here's a mistake already happening? Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. So what would be the mistake here? That is interesting. Well, for me it looks like as if taking on e5 would be okay.
That's right. So this would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we have to block. Yeah, g6 is a good move to get the bishop out and to block any shenanigans on h7 when the queen
now
goes
there's
over
this
there.
capture and then this capture.
Yeah, I don't think I would capture either of them because, I mean, this line on, I mean, h7, it has to... taking on d2 is already taking on h7 with the bishop, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a very sharp tactical player.
Yeah.
You notice these things in seconds. Yeah. This is what happened in the game. Knight to d2. So this was a mistake.
This is... Svitlana, I cannot... What is happening? So all of this... Okay, so let me try to set this straight because I'm just... this is... I mean, we all had this already, but it is still fascinating for me. So, like 2 moves before, you just showed me this insane line where it is kind of equal when you sacrifice or try to sacrifice the knight on f7. And you mentioned that Abdusattorov said, like, yeah, that's what he expected that actually to happen, but it didn't happen. And instead, 2 moves later, Esipenko makes one tiny little mistake with playing this move, and that is, I don't know why I'm thinking it's so fascinating, but like you have all these variations before, and then you don't know 1 or 2 moves further. I mean, that's how chess works after all. But sorry, I don't know what I want to get to, but it is fascinating for me. It's like
no, it is fascinating to walk into this Greek gift sacrifice, a very common tactical motive, but I think it's really like more complex.
Perhaps
it's more complex than we think because
Esipenko probably said like that doesn't work.
Right? Yeah. So I'm sure it was seen, but it was maybe underestimated by him. So bishop h7, the move that you mentioned, you saw it very quickly. It is a fascinating sacrifice here. So of course, after this, the queen joins.
But how to continue? That is the question.
Right here, there's a pawn hanging.
Yeah, I mean, that is a draw already, right?
Yes.
In worst case.
So maybe that's what he saw and thought that he had to go. If he was going to sacrifice, maybe he had to go for the draw. But the thing is, if you notice, it's not 1 bishop. It's 2 bishops that white is down. So it's quite a bit of material. Are you usually scared in these situations that you won't find the mate and be down material, or are you just going full out in your attack?
No, scared is probably the wrong word for this. I would consider it being foolish.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just see this. So what I would have probably done after the move knight to d2, I would have just gone like, this has to work, right? It looks so beautiful. I cannot stop it. I have to do it, and then I just take it, and then I will figure it out. And at one point, if I see it won't work, then yeah, I tried.
Yeah, it's good. I would be pretty scared to make these sacrifices, if I don't see the final like mate or me winning back material.
Yeah.
But this one was this was a very good game and a very good attacking game. So so now black goes here. Of course, white could go for the perpetual, but white wants to go for the win. So I'll let you find the next move after this. How do we continue the attack? The next move is pretty important.
Aha, okay. Okay, so... Huh. Well, I thought about for a second knight h5, but I don't see it working because the queen is still on d8. So a move like knight to f6 check does not work.
You found the right move for the wrong reasons, but it is knight h5. Your threat is actually more simple.
You're right. I'm just taking. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the bigger threat than
That's
knight
how
f6.
that's how it works for me. Normally, I just by accident I find the right moves for
Yeah.
this attack.
So knight h5, that's the correct move to continue the attack. Another piece joins. So black plays rook e6 now. So this was to make sure that when we capture, they will capture back with the queen and there's a defense. So they are giving away a rook, and white should have just taken. I'm not really sure what Abdusattorov was scared of, but I mean, something like this, it looks pretty good for white.
Your favorite maneuver again.
My favorite, yeah. So this would have been good, but he made a bit of a mistake to play f5. So he wanted to continue his attack like this and not really win back the material. Black took. And black has now one defense to keep the game going, and they miss it. So I can show it, I think, because it's once again a really complex line.
Is it rook f6? No, it's not. Okay.
Rook f6, I think he played something... no, he didn't play something similar. It was queen e8. So here there's some amazing lines with knight f6.
Oh, boy.
So rook here.
6.
And now this is my favorite move. So what do you think we do?
Wow.
As white.
Okay, this sounds spectacular. Well, I see that the rook can go to f3, I guess, right? That
exactly.
is so funky.
I think this would be a really amazing line to go for. But unfortunately, this is only a draw. Because black has a defense, king to h6. Crazy move to find. It would be crazy to see it. And the point is that white actually cannot mate and has to go for this perpetual.
How frustrating. Yeah, the queen cannot go to g8 because the bishop just moves away, and then that is done already as well.
Yeah.
Is it? Check. Bishop moves here because the bishop will attack the rook.
And black has too many pieces to survive.
True, yeah. It can always give a piece back in the worst case. Wow.
Yeah, so this would have been amazing to end it like that. It would have been a spectacular game, but instead, maybe black missed king h6, which nobody can really blame Esipenko for.
Definitely not.
And instead, he played queen g5. So a bit more active, but it missed the drawing idea. So queen to e6 now. And now white actually took that rook. And once again, we came back to 2 pieces for 2 pawns.
Yeah.
But white has a really good way. This move saves us in every single line.
Yeah, exactly.
Rook f3 is really, really strong
How
here.
nice, because it's also blocking any kind of checks on d1, for example, funnily enough, yeah.
And after c takes d4, there is... maybe you can try to find the next move.
So
if I'm asking...
Yeah, if you're asking like this, it cannot be rook to h3. That would be too obvious. So why is that not working? I have to find out. So queen takes the rook.
Yeah.
And then...
And black has a bit too many pieces for the queen. That's the problem. And there's two connected pass pawns in the center. And it would just be really unnecessary for white to risk like that.
Bishop c5, what a killer.
Yeah, for no mate, and would be bad for white to really end their attack like this. So instead there is there's an even bigger threat.
Is there? Well, if you say so, it must be so. But what is the big threat? Something with the knight, it has to be. Yeah, so now out of a sudden, also this is an interesting situation, because white just simply has to be careful to... I mean, black can always take the rook to get the worst position maybe, but have a longer fight after all. It's not like that white just wins the queen now, because there's too many pieces sacrificed.
Well, so, actually they will win the queen in a few... if you set it up correctly.
All right. How does this work? Have you found it at home already? I wonder. So, could we maybe just move to... what about knight to f4? Very simple.
Knight to f4 wouldn't really be it.
No, there's no mates, right?
Yeah, I guess there would be no mate. But we can set up a discovery with the knight.
It's the queen to f7 will do the trick.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see it now, yeah. I saw it even the moment before you said discovery, because I thought like that'll gonna work.
Yeah. So now the knight can play knight f8, and we're threatening to win that queen right after. And that's what happened in the game. So black took that knight, but technically black has 3 pieces for the queen, but and this is not one of those imbalanced positions that is equal, because king safety is a huge factor for for black here, which just ends it. Yeah, even black makes, and white gives away another piece, which cannot even be taken. But yeah, basically this Nodirbek went on to win. It's a rook and a bishop, but the reason why it doesn't really... it's really simple for white to play this. It's not even that tricky, because there is nothing that black can really do to win one of our pieces or to make it tricky. Is their pieces are just really not that coordinated, and we will end up winning one of the... either bishop, the rook, or one of the pawns. So something will end up dropping, and black even resigned here.
Svitlana, I would lose 9 or 10 out of 10 games against an engine as white. I mean,
no, there's no risk.
I would just miss some moves, I think. I'm not sure. What would be a good training? Maybe I should...
No, you need to be more confident. I think you maybe a few tricks, but you would get the hang of it.
Yeah, fantastic game.
It was a great game with a nice sacrifice that we've seen already, this Greek gift sacrifice. And it was a very complex version of it, but it was a beautiful attack and a nice finish. So, do you want to see one more?
Yes, please. Do you want to see one more? Of course.
Okay, so this one is going to be a bit more of a positional game.
And my fellow German is in bad shape, it seems, against another mega superstar, Prague.
Yeah, your compatriot is it was Praggnanandhaa against Keymer, and once again, it was, we're going to look at it from the white side because Praggnanandhaa was the one who ended up winning. But it was a very nice fight, and it was a very good like positional game, which is even like which is even more rare to see from these talented youth players. Normally we know them as really tactical and aggressive players, but a good positional game is something I really like to see and to learn from them.
Nice. Let's go for it. So what did they play?
They played the Ruy Lopez, something that we see a lot at high level.
Have heard of this opening once or twice before, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a slightly strange line where Prague played bishop to d2. So it has its uses there. So it's not a complete shock. He has played this before. So it's something that he probably researched. And because the Ruy Lopez is such a research opening, you kind of have to do something unconventional at some point.
Yes, that is a good point. On the other hand, whoever is white and plays bishop to d2 will win the game. That is also important to notice.
So yeah, it's not a complete surprise. The plans stay quite similar. So I know you don't play this for white or for black, but maybe we can talk a bit about the plans for both colors. Mm-hmm. Do you want to try to guess what are the main plans for white and what are the main plans for black?
Let's go for it. So white wants to get out the last knight. On the other hand, there's always this idea of pushing forward the pawn on f4, giving a bit space for the other knight. Maybe also on c4. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but maybe. And
for black?
Then black wants to pin the knight on f3 and maybe attack on the king side or push the pawns forward on the queen side.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, you kind of said everything.
Svitlana
either
politely
play on the king
said,
side or on the queen side.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly, because I was just like saying like, well, black wants to win and white also wants to win. Yeah, that's correct, Arne. Very well, yeah. Very well gathered the information.
Yeah, so these are all like very complex positions that are really, really deep sometimes. But as white, normally we want to try to play for this a4 pawn break.
Oh, okay.
And very often something in the center, like c3 and d4, another one. And another one that we know from the Ruy Lopez and from the Italian is that the knights for both of them could potentially get to these squares. So white's knight could get here, black's knight could get here. So a common plan would be to play knight to f5. And for black, a common plan could be to play at some point knight here, here, and here.
Wow.
So that's what we often see. And so
I was so black, wrong with everything.
No, it's okay. Because there's a lot of ways to play it. Black could also play on the queen side with pawn to c5. That's a very common one. And yeah, normally we don't really see this idea that you mentioned with like f4 or f5. So that could be a bit weakening to the king. So that's not a conventional plan. It could work sometimes, but usually both kind of try to play more in the center. And whoever gets control of the center gets to decide what to do later. So that was kind of the plans for each of them. So the next couple of moves, they just kept developing and following these plans a bit. h3 and h6, very common to prevent bishop g4 and bishop g5. The rooks came out, and they just kept bringing out their pieces. The last few moves were all pretty reasonable. Once again, it really makes a lot more sense. They have studied these positions for so long, and this is one of the most common openings that occurs at their level. So they know these really perfectly and know a lot of
heart. Yeah.
So knight went to d5.
Oh, I thought a bishop sacrifice on f7.
Yeah, true.
For no reason.
After the last game, we all want to do that. And maybe here, I'll ask you, do you think white wants to keep that bishop?
Yes, we put it back to a2.
Yeah, but we can move it to b3, even better. So that's right. We want to keep this bishop. That's another important factor in these Italians and Ruy Lopez positions. This bishop usually is really important, and we want to keep it. We don't want to trade it for the knight, which is why we often try to avoid this knight a5. And that was maybe one of the ideas of this bishop d2 move, is that there was no knight a5 earlier. So this is the right square, because now white has the plan of playing a4, something that we've known for, that was one of white's plan, and to open the a file. So black plays c5. What is white's next plan?
Well, does a4 work? Could work.
A4
Then,
is one of the plans. That's good.
The other plan, which also is interesting to, as you mentioned already earlier, but now it makes more sense, is to play c3 and maybe d4 and go through the center. Because now we have a little bit of a dominance in the center. Black's pieces are too far back, and the only pieces who are in control of the center are the pawns at the moment.
Yeah, I like that too. So a4, and then combined with c3 and d4 later, looks good. That's probably what I would have played. And there's one more plan, which is a bit sneaky at this point, but white wants to play knight h4 at some point too, to limit this knight. And then if the knight moves, then we will occupy this square. So that's something that Praggnanandhaa went for in the game later. First, he played a4. And so far, believe it or not, I think it was still preparation, like up until c5, because I'm pretty sure they both played really quickly. And this was probably up until approximately this point. I think at this point, they probably started to play out of book. And here's where Pragg goes for this knight h4 plan, which I mentioned earlier. Very common for the knights to go there. So since black didn't go here earlier, now white has this option.
Yeah, black cannot go there anymore. We would just take it.
Yeah, very common to miss in like blitz and bullet games.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So then after a long thought, Keymer played queen c7. And it was probably better to play something like d5, and as we said, fight for the center. It was one of the key plans here, and it's important to do it at the right time. So something like this, white has their own ideas, but black has a very, very decent position and preparing c4.
Very uncommon move.
Yeah.
d1, which is nothing, to c6. Okay, so anyway, we will, as white, we will play queen to h5 nonetheless, do we?
We can play queen to h5, but even better, there's an even better place for the queen. Do you want to guess where the queen went instead?
Is it g4?
It is to g4. So although h5 and f3, they attack here, but this is why black played this move earlier, to play c4. So there would have been a defense against it. So instead, we attack a different target.
Yes, it's
this
h6.
So this becomes dangerous now. Out of nowhere, it was so calm, but it becomes dangerous because there's no really good way to defend the h6 pawn.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
So instead, black has to go for a counterplay, which is what they did. So first, they kick out the queen with queen c8. You offer trade. Of course, white is not going to trade. And play c4. So that's the counterplay that I was talking about. They have to attack something else. So they took, bishop moved, bishop c6. Would you take or not take on h6? Now that's the big question.
So if we take and the knight takes back, then we can build the same threat which we had with the bishop by moving our knight to f5. But if the
I mean,
queen...
you could certainly take on c6, but I was more talking about, are we going to take on h6?
Oh, on h6, pardon me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels eerie. I'm not sure why I don't have a good feeling about it. I might take on c6 first.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, it's a matter of taste at this point, whether you take it or not.
Well.
So one of them is more risky, the other one is more solid.
Huh.
So essentially, this is a trade of the h6 pawn for the b2 pawn. You went for the solid one, which was surprising to me.
Yeah, that is surprising. That's even for me.
So it's exchange of this pawn for this pawn. So you could also just be a slightly better, defend that pawn, and be solid like that, and play for other weaknesses.
Okay.
But the game went with bishop to h6. So
brutal.
So it was a trade of two. It was a trade of the two pawns. So material is still equal, but I would say that black's king looks a bit not that secure. But still nothing concrete. That's the thing about these top-level games, is that they're not going to miss anything huge. So one of them will really have to prove their attacking skills to bring it to victory.
Okay.
Now, I really like this next move by Pragg, is he played bishop to c1, kicked out the rook.
That's unexpected.
And
such a far move.
Black retreated to b7. But there was something better. Black should have sacrificed the exchange.
Oh.
Do you see how?
No.
Try to find this exchange sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm looking already. So... So, I mean, I don't know how good this is, but no, yeah, maybe it is so good, actually. The more I think about it. So what about if we take on a4?
Exactly. This is the move.
Yeah.
Takes here and take here.
And then we take on c2, and then we strengthen our c4 pawn in the next move if bishop gets attacked. Yeah, that's nice. That's cute.
This was a really interesting alternative, I thought. So it's a rook against a bishop and a pawn. So technically, it's not like a full compensation, but I think it's really, really good compensation because there's a strong light squared bishop. There's this strong passed pawn that could be important later, and most importantly, there's no attack.
Yes.
We took out that bishop and took out the rest of the pieces that can help the attack. So the game has changed. I think this could have been a turning point for Vincent, because once you put that sacrifice, you're kind of going to be on the offensive for a bit. So this could have been taken the game in a different direction. But instead, he retreated with the rook, and after that, Pragg was kind of the one pressing for the rest of the game. Bishop g5, it bounces back to the attacks, and now it wants to...
This bishop is really funky.
Yeah, this bishop is a really important piece in this game and in these positions in general. Black took, and here Black really had to start some drastic moves to get back into the attacking. So they could have maybe done something like this to sacrifice the pawn, but at least remove all of White's attacking pieces.
Yeah.
It could become sharp, and the knight isn't really is kind of stuck on h4. So I liked this move for Black, although White is still a bit better. But instead, he was just a bit too passive. He didn't want to risk too much. But I really like this next sequence of moves by Praggnanandhaa. I'll make you guess in a bit. So rook to a5 was completely the right square for the rook, preventing d5. Now, so that's the idea. So he played really, really accurately these couple of moves. So queen queen went here, rook to a6. So you're just restricting a bit more and more. It was really, that's why I was really like impressed by this game, that it was so nicely a nice positional game with these quiet moves, but very, very effective
Yeah,
moves.
very nuanced. That's what you
Try to
mentioned,
find,
the positional
yeah,
play here.
yeah, try to find the next strong positional moves. I really liked it.
Oh, I wanted to attack now, but let's see. Well, how about we just double up the rooks? I mean, but this is a bit too simple, right? So what about c3?
Perfect. That's the move I was looking for. And
Gotcha.
it's not that deep, but it's very strong. It makes
Yeah,
a point, and it makes this
super
knight,
annoying.
and it just removes all the squares from this knight. Super simple, but it's hard to suggest something for black after that. So if we had gone for the attack, as you mentioned, then knight d4 could create some counter chances. And now this knight activated suddenly and has some threats. So
Yeah.
the c3 is a really good positional move that you found.
So we have to do something against knight f5. That's not it.
Well, he tried to go for the offensive finally, but now the pieces are just too concentrated.
But what about knight d4 now?
Knight d4 is what happened in the game, so we are definitely going to look at that. So try to find the next, I guess, the next move for white. It's not a sacrifice yet, but
yeah,
just good moves.
What about the check on h6? Well, it is a sacrifice. You just said it's not a sacrifice, so.
Yeah. I guess I could take it. There's no
perhaps
no mate, I guess. Yeah, I think there's no maybe there's something stronger.
Yeah. What about if we take on g7?
If we take on g7,
the knight goes back to e6. And everything is... So if we take on g7, then the bishop takes, and then we go to f6.
Yeah, exactly. So
then the knight goes back to e6 and nothing can happen. Annoying.
You brought out a really good defense. Yeah, that's good. That's, I think, would refute that sacrifice.
Okay, so let me find something positional. What if we play f4?
I wouldn't really say that's positional, but but okay. I mean, it's a bit more risky to play things like f4 because you're opening up your king, but
yeah, queen c5.
Not really, but there's not really extra threats, right? So f4 looks nice, but you don't threaten to win anything on 5 or anything like that. So the move was actually following your idea with g7. It was to play bishop to f6.
Oh, okay.
So you're just putting more pressure there, and this was the move that he played. If in case black has captured here, this didn't happen. But in case this did happen, this leads to a winning attack because there's a threat of this bishop g7 idea followed by f6, and now there's no extra defender. Of
course, that's nice.
And if the king tries to escape, we do yet another rook lift.
Yes.
And it follows with mate. So it was not possible to take that knight. And after knight e6, try to find the next one is a sacrifice, but maybe not the one that you thought about earlier.
Poof. Okay. Yeah, so can we take on d6 with the rook?
Exactly. That's what he did, and it was a great move. There's many other moves that were good, but I think this one is the nicest. And I really like that it was a really harmonious game. How all of the pieces kind of were brought together.
Yeah.
This did its job. Like, we first opened it with a4, then the rook was restricting, making these subtle moves, and now it finally came together to its big mission at the end to play rook d6.
Must have been really frustrating for black, because sometimes you have those games. I mean, then if you're the part who always, every move the opponent makes is just it's just working out well, and you're like, oh, goodness.
It
How?
it happens. It happens when like the opponent's moves just flow and you just like you were just stuck in a bad like it just didn't go your way from the start and then it just keeps not working out.
Yep.
It happens and it happens to everybody. But this was one of those games for the German.
Surely, yeah.
Unfortunately, not. But maybe he's gonna do. I'm not sure the rest of the results.
Me neither. But there's still it's still running, right? Or not? I'm not sure. Oh no. Now your sound is gone.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, there's
Okay.
some internet instabilities, but it's working.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, but we were almost done with the game. So rook to d6, you found it. It was a great tactical maneuver. Now rook to c3, black tries to distract the queen from this from the mate. But yeah, we're just going to take it and then come back to g3. That's
what?
So it gave a whole rook to get it out of there, but it just came back.
That is so crazy. And now the bishop, if the bishop goes back to f8, that doesn't help.
They have to go back, and then white ended up being a pawn up, and the attack continues. So white didn't pay any material for this attack.
Didn't see that.
And it was even up a pawn. So
okay.
So that's how it didn't work out for black here. And of course, he still had to prove this position to be winning. So he made a couple of improving moves, freed up the space, tried to attack another pawn. So far, he is combining attacking with defending a bit. So he defended this one, he defended this one. So he set up all his pieces for defense, but attack at the same time. And then after black played queen to c5, he kind of... it was losing immediately because it lost the f7 pawn. So knight went here, the move that we've mentioned before. And he just resigned because it's two pawns. Attack keeps going, and as we said, sometimes there's these games that just don't go your way, and it happens. But I thought it was a really good positional. Not only positional, there were some tactics, but I think it's really a more positional masterpiece by Praggnanandhaa.
Indeed, yeah. What a game of him. Oh gosh, those super talents. I mean, yeah. And
we'll have to follow the rest of the Duesseldorf tournament
and see how they will do. Yeah. That was really, really nice. Thank you so much, Svitlana. That was some crazy smart moves, I have to say. Hope you enjoyed it as well at home. We see each other soon again. Bye-bye till now.